All right. So let's go ahead and start. So feet together and just take a bow. Oh, so let's have a nice mellow warm up. So again, take the warm ups as a chance to kind of really sit in the body, take notice. So let's start with owl gazing backwards. Hands are flat. Open the chest, look over the shirt. And back to center. Oh. These are bent, hips are tucked. And again. Oh. Swimming dragons. So just in front. So we're sitting halfway down. Hips are tucked, knees are bent, spine is vertical. And just bring the hands up and down along the vertical. Time with your breath. Now, going up, palms out. And let's do a stretch. So this is separating heaven and earth. So we're mixing qigong and stretching just to wake up the body and get the energy flowing. So your palms are out. Look up and stretch. And look up. Oh.
Which hands on the inside and outside when passing?
When passing, what do you mean?
Coming up where you hit here,
So-
are they side to side or is one out, one in?
No, they're basically along the same plane, right? So they're passing each other. At some point, the fingers essentially are pointing at each other. So there's none that are in front or behind. They're basically along the same plane, just crossing front, along the front, because the stretch is along the vertical, right? So there's no real forward or back. And so now I'm going to reach up, both hands up, look up, and then drop the hands. Right. So palms up until you reach the heart, then turn palms out and up, look up, and then bring the arms out in a circle. And just nice relaxed breath. Right. Don't force it, don't hold the breath. If it takes 2 or 3 breaths, then you do two or three breaths. Now we reverse the direction. So from here we gather and then bring down to the Lord Antya. And again, gather. So open the chest, look up as you raise the arms, and then back to center. There's versions of this exercise where it depends on how strong you feel your back is, or how much work you want to do on it. But there's versions of this where you're also twisting as you come in. So it's like you're gathering. Come back in, right? And there's some where you're actually leaning back. So you're really reaching back, but so you can explore these. Depending on how you feel and how strong you feel your back is, it's important not to launch into these, right? Because it's possible to really hurt your back. So that's why it's better. Maybe these are kind of cool. So there's a twist, just not forcing it, just to kind of explore the reach, the range of motion in the back. Just using them as a kind of very gentle warm up and not forcing the twist. All right. Speaking of twisting, bend forward. So again, we want to be nice and relaxed. So straighten the legs and then roll down. Just hanging down. And then come back up. Hands on kidneys, lean back. And back to center. Knees bent. And again, straighten the legs. Roll down. Back up. Down rolling the spine, hands on the kidneys, lean back. And again. Come back up. Unrolling the spine, lean back. And back to center. So one last time, this time swinging from foot to foot. Roll down. And swinging from foot to foot. And back to center. And back up, unrolling the spine. Hands on kidneys, lean back. And back to front. Now carry the tiger. Reach up. Drop the arms to shoulder height. Open the chest. Rotate the shoulders. Squat. Cross the hands. Rise up. Turn the hands over. And again. Oh. 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 Basic posture, hold. So take the time to do a quick body check. Knees are bent, hips are tucked, muscles are relaxed, shoulders are relaxed, spine is vertical, neck is lengthened, belly is relaxed. And drop. Oh. Cow gazing at the moon, so palms out. Twist, keeping the hips square. Look between your hands and release. Oh. Other side, sure. Oh. 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 Back to center. Now 9 ghosts drawing swords. So we're behind the back. Trying to touch your fingertips. And we're going to bring the elbow to the knee. And come back up. And then twist, look over the shoulder. And come back to center. And switch. So nice twist of the spine. So elbow to knee. And oh. And oh. 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 Oh, back to center. Now play the pipa. Actually, before we do that, horse stance. So last time we also did drawing the bow. Right? So the hands are in front. One hand forms the talisman. The other one makes a loose fist. We're sitting here. So again, you don't want to be too low. You want to find that arc in the legs, right? So that you feel like you're solid, but also you're creating that arc, that connection in the hips. Opening the chest, looking in the direction that you're pointing in, then back to center. Then other side. Oh. Again. Oh. Oh. That drop. So there is a move actually within the 8 brocades, which is
where is your thumb going on that talisman?
so the talisman is this,
Okay.
right? So the whole idea is that there's a polarity in each finger, yin and yang, that alternates. So when you're doing this, you have yin and yang polarity of these 2 fingers that matches, and then the thumb covers the other 2, which creates a circle, so that basically you're shooting chi out of your fingertip, right? So this is called the talisman, right? So I was saying there's a move. It looks a lot like karate. It's like punch with intent, with fierce intent. But we're going to do a slight variation on that, which is going to be more about the belt. So again, finding that arc within the legs, right? So you feel solid, and then it's pushing towards the center, the open palm, and come back, right? Then, and the hands are it's just palms. So you breathe in, relax the arms. Breathe in.
So there's an in-breath and an out-breath on each.
Yeah, so this is exhale, and then you inhale, fully extended, but releasing the arms so that you come to this place which is relaxed, but also the inhale brings the attention to the belly, and then inhale, inhale, release. You can do that with fists if you want. I like to do it with open palms because then you have more of the kind of swirling of the hands around the belt meridian, right? That's essentially the motion, right? Ho. 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 All right, come back.
Are you recording for YouTube right now?
Yep. So let's move on to play the pipa. So, because we've only done half the body. Turn and forehead to the knee. And rise up. And toes in. Shift, turn, home, 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 back to center. Now again, horse stance. Now this time we're going to go low. We're going to stretch the inner thighs, so you're pushing the knees apart with your forearms. And sitting up. So this time, before we were in this kind of arc with the legs, now we're going to go slightly lower because we want to really engage the hips and move. So we're going to bear shaking its tail. Right? So we turn, we sweep, look over the shoulder, and come back. Turn, sweep, look over the shoulder, come back. Right? Sweep. Oh. And again. Oh. For the masochist, you can also do it here. Just remember to turn your feet so that you're not putting pressure on the knees. That's just a variation on, but that's if you really want to work on the hip joints. But now, right, so you would do turn here, turn the feet, and then get back. So you get that stretch in the front hip. And now final, squat, toes down. And shift. And shift, toes up. And shift. And back to center. Walk the feet in. All right. So let's do 13 postures, but let's walk through the breath. Right, so we can really mark when and why the breath is happening where it's happening. All right. So we'll stumble through the 13 postures. We'll stop and explain. So feet together, toes together. Taking this time to bring the breath into the belly. And hold, exhale. Shift the foot. Inhale, rise up. Hold, sit down. Inhale. Hold, exhale. Now, bring the foot in, and then hold. Come up. Then sit down. Hold. All right. So, as a general rule, the breath is going to be when you move out, you're exhaling. When you're drawing in, you're inhaling. Right. The important thing to remember is that the breath is not the commander. The breath is giving you a rhythm. Because the very next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the rhythm of the breath. So the breath can be changed with intent, with the will. If you need to do something different, the breath has to change to match what you want to do. Right? So it's not the breath giving us the rhythm. It's not it's not the breath controlling the movement. It's the will controlling the movement. And the breath is there to support the movement, which is why we have inhale, like gathering, inhale, exhale. The exhale is supporting the movement. We'll see in the third section that we do the reverse of that. After central equilibrium, we actually inhale here and then exhale. We'll go back. So we're doing the reverse later on. So it's important to not think of the breath as controlling the movement, which also means that when you're doing the form, especially if you're following along, it's better to keep breathing as opposed to try to force the breath so that your breath becomes strained. So if you're moving along and if you have to breathe twice, do so. Don't hold the breath, right? It's better to have a nice relaxed belly, nice relaxed breath, so that the performance of the 13 postures and of the form is always relaxed, right? And just keep in mind that your breath is there to support. It's giving you a rhythm. Like one of the imagery that I keep getting is that the guy in the Roman galley is beating the drums. Boom, boom, boom. He's not directing the rowers. He's not powering the rowers. They're just giving them rhythm to the effort, right? So that's the function of the breath. So having said all that, so we were here, inhale, here. Exhale here, then inhale, gathering, and then exhale. And then inhale, and then exhale. So this is what I was talking about before, where the breath is now changed. Your breath is not irregular, because the breath is supporting what the movement has to do. And so for grasp the sparrow's tail, all of this is inhale. And the exhale is only on the press.
I was inhale, exhale, inhale.
Yeah. So if that breath becomes too intense or too hard, again, you can break it up. So you can do she, ho, she, ho. As long as you know that what you're working towards is actually she, ho. Right? So that as the breath becomes longer, you're more comfortable with the longer breath, then that's where you're going towards. But again, it's better to break it up, right? And the breath remain quiet rather than force it and then have a lot of tension. Part of the reasons why for grasp the sparrow's tail we have that single breath, right? It's two reasons. One of them is timing, right? It gives us a hint. If all of this is supposed to be in a single inhale, that tells us that this is supposed to be a single action, right? The movements are linked. It's not I deflect, then I throw. It's actually I deflect and throw. I deflect and throw. Right? So in the application of the movement is a lot faster. Right? It's here. It's like a whip. There's a punch, you catch and throw. Catch and throw. So it's a single move. So that in the brain, we're not going, first I deflect, and then I throw. It's actually deflect and throw. Deflect and throw. Right? Grasp the sparrow's tail. That's why the imagery is that of a bird lands on your wrist, and you catch it. You catch the bird, right? So the application would be very fast. The second reason why we're doing this long breath, is the thing that follows press is very much grounded in the lower dantian, right? We're not sending energy out. It's an expansion from the dantian out like a bubble. So and this is at the very beginning of the 13 postures, because one of the things that it does is it kind of supercharges the dantian, the lower dantian, right? Because so you're really creating tension in a way in the belly, really bringing all that energy, and then that press energy also in a way compresses the lower dantian. So if you're doing it press correctly, there's a sense of the body's expanding, but because there's pressure, you're also compressing the lower dantian. So at the very beginning of the 13 postures, you have this kind of breath, right? You have this breath work that it's actually in a way reminiscent of some of the yogic breathing, right? Where in some of the yogic breathing, where you hold your breath, like you would breathe in for 3, hold your breath for 3, and then exhale for 4 or something like that, right? So it's, and then hold, and that pressure is what generates actually the energy. It's the tension itself that's generating the energy. So there's a little bit of that quality here, which is why you want to find eventually that breath that can be long and fills the belly, and that's that pressure, which is then compressed even more with the press that follows, right? And then now we're energized. Now we can go and start sending energy out from us because we've activated the lower dantian, right? That's my opinion as to why we're doing it and why it's in one of the very first moves in the 13 postures, right? It just kind of wakes everything up. All right, so that's the breathing. So we were here. So inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale all the way to here, and then exhale. Then inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, and then we just do the same thing on the other side. So this is inhale, exhale, inhale, gathering, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, return, so we're doing a little choppy, but and then all right. So one of the things that you can not really play with, but where there are some, there's some leeway, is exactly where you do that transformation from inhaling to exhaling or exhaling to inhaling, right? Because, for example, when so we've done press, then it's inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. In general, you want that exhale to come with the outward energy, right? So the rising energy, yang energy coming out. But sometimes there's a couple things that are happening. So for example, if we're ciliate closed, after the press, there's here, and then the turn of the hand, right? So all of that is in a single inhale, right? It's inhale, and then the exhale comes in with the thrust. So this is what I was talking about before, where the breath is just this kind of background rhythm that's supporting the movement, but things are happening within that rhythm. So in this particular case, we're doing in, there's two beats that are happening within a single breath, and then a single beat, right? So that's why I was saying you don't want to get locked in with the breath just becoming a metronome. The breath is just the support, right? And then when you feel it, when you have it, supports the rise of it, or supports the drawing in. What's more important is that everything is nice and relaxed, right? Eventually, like I'm making noises, I'm going shoo-ho so that you can hear the breath. Eventually, the breath should be invisible, meaning that you shouldn't be able to hear it because it's so soft, right? That it barely comes in. You just let the air in, fill the lungs, and then let the air out of the lungs, right? So the breath is not pushed unless we make the specific choice.
You're doing push hands or free form or actually in a battle. If your opponent can hear your breath and know it's Tai Chi, they know what's coming in terms of energy.
Exactly. And eventually, when you start doing things like push hands and you start moving faster, so it's not just the slow moving push hands where there's real energy, your breath is completely disconnected. Because what you want to do in these kind of fast, high energy push hands is actually continue breathing. So you're going, you're getting shoo, ho, right? And so your breath, because you want your breath to remain regular and full, so that you're energized. So your movement end up kind of disconnected, unless or until the moment where suddenly there is and there's a push. And it's exactly the same thing that we find in the second section that we're about to do, right? Where we do elbow, shoulder strike, where there's that double exhale, because we want the breath to support the projection of energy, right? So, we'll see again at the end of the third, where we go, that double breath, because the exhale supports the move. Right? So the breath is not fixed. The breath is not, like I said, it's not a metronome. The breath is going to move. The breath is there to help the movements. And the movements are guided by the intent. It's always about the intent. The intent moves, the chi moves, the body moves, and then the breath is fourth. The breath is there to support, right? It's there to bring oxygen to the blood. All right, so let's quickly continue. Because we were here, and then we're going to turn. So the second section, and then right? So that first transition, 2 breaths, right? Then the exhale is settling down, and then and notice we do but it's not, it can be or you can just go and then you're still breathing, and then right? At first, whatever's comfortable for you, because it's going to be
Inhale, exhale, then inhale, and let that into your exhale.
Yeah. So the inhale, yeah, exactly. The inhale here is then transformed on the exhale. So when exactly you take it is going to depend on your own breath. So whatever you need to do so that you're not turning that moment into a moment of tension. Again, nice and relaxed. As long as your exhale is connected to outward movement. Right? Because technically, if your breath was always matching the movement, technically you'd have to be and you'd have a double breath again. But here, because this is a more continuous movement, the breath it isn't quite as sharp as what we'll see later on with elbow strike and shoulder strike, which is officially a double breath. Okay, this is not a double breath.
Full exhale and a finishing exhale.
No. Or right? It gets blended in that sense. It's not a double exhale, it's a single exhale. So it depends on your breath. So let's continue. Right? And then and then So that's a single breath. Again, if you have to, you can go So you can make that into 2 breaths instead of 1, whatever's comfortable. Again, as long as you draw in, it's an inhale, and as you brush out, it's an exhale. Right? Sometimes, depending on what you're doing with the 13 process and your practice at the moment, if you really want to focus on doing it nice and slow and really get the energy going, right? It's better to do it with multiple breaths, to just really go and really do it nice and slow. If you want to do your 13 postures with a little more of the momentum, so that you kind of feel the body moving through space, then you do it in 1 breath, right? Then it's Right? Depends. So that's the important thing, and I think it's a remnant of kind of traditional Chinese teaching methods, where it's very much regimented. But I don't think that's helpful necessarily, because what we're trying to get is that connection between mind, body, breath, and all of that kind of stuff. So if you're starting to follow, especially somebody else's breath or rhythm, essentially you're denying yourself the feeling of that connection. So it's better to train yourself to have that feeling, breathe the way that you need to breathe in order to have that coordination, that integration between mind, body, breath, and energy. All right? So that's what I'm saying. Make the breathing yours, as long as you have inhaling is generally to gather and exhaling is generally to project. That's the important part. All right? So let's continue. So brush knee, and then play the pipa. Inhale. Oh. This is another one where, right? So, in the application of it, it's a drawing in and push. It's not there. It's not a 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not like there's a beat. It's actually a single. Right? I think we've talked about that in terms of the application of it. It's a single spiral, drawing in, which then bounces back out. So your breath should have the same quality as that spiral, meaning that's uninterrupted. Draw in and push out. So the breath is in and out, right? You don't want to have like, a solid, hard rhythm in that sense. So it really is. What you should be focusing on is the feeling on the leg, the hips, what it feels like to gather towards the waist, and then expanding. So then the breath supports that feeling. The breath supports going in and supports the expansion. Right? But the mind is actually more on the feeling in the legs and in the waist rather than focusing on the breath. Breath is there to support. Right? So it's right? Breath is support. So breath is the bellows that supports the movement. So from here, then same inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, like fall. Inhale, exhale, again, we're going very fast here, turn, home, okay. One last thing before we move on. Brush knee is also a good example of how we're doing multiple things at once, which is one of the kind of the powers of Tai Chi, is the fact that many things are happening simultaneously. So here, for example, this is a ward off, which then turns into a push. And the power of it is that it's not two moves. There's a transition, but it's not I brush knee and now I'm going to push. Eventually, it's a part of a single rotation, right? This kind of spiraling energy, where the spiral of the ward off is I'm pushing up the rear leg, so the front arm is what's brushing. And that spiraling energy then, as I shift the weight forward, is transformed into a straight line, right? So it's a single expression of energy, which is why it's a single expression of breath. So we're doing two things, but we actually want to connect them. And the breath is one of the things that connects them. Because you want to have that sense of, right? It's the whole body is moving forward with power. And even though there's a progression from one arm to the other, it's the same energy, same vector of force which is being expressed, that same spiral that is, right? It's going. Yeah, no, it's a beautiful move, and if you really kind of do it with a little bit of speed, with a little bit of momentum, you really feel how it really is the whole body is expressing power at the same time, right? Even though you're doing two very different things here, brushing, pushing, it's part of the same expression of energy. So this is where, again, the breath is there as support. We're doing two things, but on one breath, right? We're not deconstructing the move going ho, shi, ho. It's just ho. Right? So the breath is giving us a hint also as to the qualities that we're generating here, which is, because we'll see. So now we finished it. Now we're going to start going for the third section. Right, so because we went to all four directions, we're here, and then we go to the diagonals, ho, and then shi, ho, then shi, ho. So this gives you a hint as to when the power is being exerted is on the exhale. Ho, this is the twist the joint. This is when you grab the guy's arm, hua, and twist it. But now, shi. That's the deflection, that's the rollback. Ho, now I'm planting myself. But immediately, ho, shoulder strike. And here, it's a double exhale. It's not a single exhale. It's not ho as a single exhale. Because here there's a great shift in quality of energy. Whereas before, brushing was a single expression of energy that was being, right, that was just going here, right, it was a single vector of force. This is very different. This is, I'm receiving energy, somebody's falling, right, because I've just done elbow strike. So if somebody comes towards me, I deflect, and then I brace myself, they fall on top of me. And then I project energy. So there's receiving energy. So here, when I'm here, I'm bracing, my energy is going down. And then, in a way, you want to think that you've just received it, and that energy bounces back, and that comes back out of the shoulder. So in this case, here, the breath is highlighting the shift in quality, right? Where we had one expression of energy, we immediately have then a second one that follows, but they're not necessarily connected. You wouldn't do ho, because if I do that as a single breath, what I'm missing is the receiving of the energy, which is its own thing, and then the expression of energy, which is a separate thing, separate quality. Right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
So the breath here is giving us a hint as to the qualities that we're encountering, the qualities of energy that we're generating, and also you can see the application underneath it, right? The difference in qualities here, here, different. So we're here. So this is, like I said, inhale. This is the deflection. Exhale. This is the bracing, receiving the strike on the elbow, and then double exhale. So shi, ho, and then shi, ho. Right? So here, so inhale, we square up, we come up, central equilibrium, right? Palm is over the head. Inhale. Because this, here we're sideways. We want to square the hips. Come to the vertical. And then inhale. exhale. So this is what I was talking about before, where we're not locked in to the breath. Even here, this is technically ward off, but we're going to do it on an inhale, and then roll back on an exhale. Whereas at the beginning, we did the opposite. We did a roll back on an exhale. Here we're doing a roll back on an inhale. Right? Just shows again the variation on breath. Then roll back. And then
So, can you give me the breath pattern from here?
yeah, so this is inhale, ho, and then shi, ho, exhale, shi,
Inhale.
ho. Yeah, okay. So
I thought you were saying this was an exhale. When I was
No.
trying to-
No, it's just that the first time that we see ward off, it's an exhale. Now we're doing ward off again, but it's on an inhale. So it just shows that we're not locked with the breath. Right? It's not like every time you do ward off, you have to exhale. In some cases, we do ward off on an inhale. Because again, the breath is there to support the move. It doesn't control the move.
Exhale here. Inhale. Exhale.
Exhale. And then immediately inhale.
Inhale.
Yep. And exhale.
Inhale. Exhale.
So because there's only a single breath, so ho, double exhale. Inhale, sitting back on the rear leg. Exhale, ho. Then immediately inhale, ho. And then step back again, ho, ho. And again, double exhale. When we go from push to press, double exhale. Again, it's because we want the breath to be supporting each individual move in this particular case. It's not ho, because that would be a single expression of energy. It's two expression of energies. Ho, ho. Right? So that way, that one is a double exhale, just as we have ho, ho. We also have at the end, right, after here, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, exhale. Ho, ho. All right?
Yeah, the whole feel natural about that to me. That's the way I gravitate.
Mm-hmm. So there is a control of the breath right in here. So it's not this complete relaxed breath in the sense that it's not a natural way of breathing, because we're demanding at certain times that, for example, there's a double breath, or that we do a longer breath, right? Because we want to, we're trying to integrate, especially the mind with the body, right? So that's where the breath can't be automatic. We don't want the breath to just be something that you do without thinking about it. The breath is under control of the intent, because the intent controls the chi. Chi controls the body, and the breath supports the body. So the breath, body, intent, all of it is integrated into a single effort, into a single expression of intent. That's the goal, right? So that when we're doing all of this, everything is moving at once, and the breath is not just forgotten. The breath is not just something that happens without your conscious participation. The breath is an expression of your intent. So when you need the breath to support you, whether it's inhaling or whether it's exhaling, the breath is there. And the intent is guiding it and making you choose, right? So it is one of the reasons why this becomes a meditation. Because when you think about it, the mind is so occupied with controlling every aspect of the movement, controlling every aspect of the body, that there's nothing else for it to do. You can't be thinking about what you're going to have for dinner, because your mind is too intent going, okay, not only does your feet and weight distribution and all that, and where your arm, but the breath is also engaged. So your whole body, and your mind, everything is engaged into a single expression. And that's where it becomes a meditation. All right. It's the same as if you were sitting in, seated meditation, staring at a candle flame, forcing your focus to stay on a single point. here's the same thing, except that the single point is your body, is the integrated body, right? Mind, so the intent, the chi, the body, the breath, everything is moving at once. Everything is, that's the candle flame that you're focusing on, creating these shapes of energy that you're projecting. Everything is moving. All right. So then we relax. So double breath, right? And then we just inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And then we just basically do the same thing. Inhale, inhale, double exhale, right? So, and same thing on the other sides. So we just repeat that. Okay, so the third section is weird because it has those two double exhales. But as long as you remember that, then shoot, sorry, I messed it up. Double exhale, push, press, double exhale, right? And then we simply, at the very end, we're and then we simply shoot, shoot, and then we carry the tiger, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the breath for the 13 postures. So again, you want it to be as relaxed as possible, but it is not automatic, and it is still it's there to support the movement. The movement is generated by your mind, by your intent. So that's the main idea that you want to take out of the 13 postures. And that's why I do think that the very first move, grasp the sparrow's tail, has a strange breath, because it's a kind of reminder of like, don't go into automatic, just like, I'm just going to breathe normally. No, it's like, no, wake up. Right? It's like, now we're energizing, we're bringing in the belly, waking the system up. And the breath follows the mind.
Some of the longer breaths drive that down to not just tip or lower.
Yep.
Then
Exactly.
don't start anything.
That's why I think it's at the very beginning, because when you do that long that long breath at the beginning, you're creating that pressure, that compression. There's no way that you can do that without becoming more aware of your lower dantian. So that's what I'm saying. It kind of activates it. It's like, now you're here. Everything is here in the lower dantian. So now the movement emerges out of that. So that's the breathing in 13 postures. So let's close off. Let's do Celestial Tiger. Actually, before we do Celestial Tiger, well, let's come to here. We'll do Celestial Tiger, but before, there's one thing that's kind of cool that I want to get into. More of a habit of doing actually is this dropping. Basically rising on your toes, and then you're not trying to stop the heel, right? It's just, you're not trying to shake the body, because one of the things that's happened right now is that we've done a lot of breathing and moving. There's a lot of kind of chaotic energy. So this is a way of kind of grounding everything before we do Celestial Tiger, which hopefully will ground us even more. But you don't want to do Celestial Tiger with this kind of distracted, frizzy energy. So this is just rise up, there's drop. Rise up, drop. Rise up, drop. Rise up, drop. Rise up. So now let's do Celestial Tiger. So from here, these are bent, which are tucked. So repeating this 3 times. And palms down. up, shit, ho. Fingers pointing, shit, ho. Around the arms, palms up, shit, ho. Pointing up over the head, shit, ho. Drop the arms up in the chest, shit, ho. Reach back, shit, drop, ho. Shit, ho. Shit, ho. And again, shit, ho. 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 One last time, shit, ho. 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 Hands on belly. And feet together. And take a bow. All right. So, class continues for the members at hiddentaichi.com. So, see you there.